I'm a unifier. I'm a healer. I'm a lover, not a fighter. That's what Kamala Harris just said in response to that question. Within the same show, this is also what Kamala Harris said.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Kamala Harris, after throwing unbelievable slime at Donald Trump. Remember when their campaign was all about joy? Well, the joy is definitely gone. Kamala Harris took a break from her break on the campaign trail yesterday to address the nation and say that Donald Trump is just like Hitler. Then she appeared at a CNN town hall to basically say the same thing. And I got to tell you, every single time Kamala Harris tries to do a media appearance, she hurts her campaign that much more.
Some voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years. You were vice president, not the president. But why wasn't any of that done for the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done.
Is this like freestyle rapping? Is she like taking a page from like hip hop Alexander Hamilton on Broadway? Was this the Eminem influence the other day where she's trying to appeal to Detroit voters? Did you follow any of that? I'm really trying hard to focus my brain. This is the smartest woman the Democrats have that they've put out there. By the way, women voters who are excited about the idea of breaking the glass ceiling and having your first female president in the history of our beautiful constitutional republic. Is this who you want to be that glass ceiling breaker? Is this the person you want the monument erected of as the first female president? Does she really represent the hopes and dreams of little girls everywhere? If you're a Democrat right now, where you're thinking, yeah, I sort of miss mashed potato brains. I sort of miss him mumbling incoherently and then whispering into the microphone and then screaming incoherently at people that aren't even in the room and then wandering off aimlessly, freezing, squatting, and acting like he's pooping his pants. I kind of miss that guy. That's actually a superior candidate for the highest office in the land compared to that.
Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that wall did he build? I think the last number I saw is about 2%. And then when it came time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing to a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill that deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it. People have to earn it.
So she continues to mock the wall. So if the wall is so stupid and the wall is so worthy of mockery, why are you planning to build it? And spoiler alert, she never really answers that question.
And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Like, let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem, you're doing this compromise bill. It does call for $650 million that was earmarked under Trump to actually still go to build the wall.
I'm not afraid of good ideas where they occur.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything. I just talked about that wall, right? We just talked about it. He didn't actually do much of anything.
But you do want to build some wall.
I want to strengthen our border.
She's not going to build a damn thing. She will not build a freaking thing down there. And you just saw it. But you know that, and everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. And if anybody's going to vote for her because they think that she's going to strengthen our border and actually protect us from what? Well, just look at her track record for the last 3.5 years. I guess I'll give Anderson Cooper some credit. He kept pressing her, saying, you said the wall was stupid, and now you say you're going to build the wall. You just made fun of Trump. And he said, well, yeah, why make fun of Trump? Because he didn't do anything. Oh, so when you were making fun of the wall, what you were really making fun of was Trump for not building it? Gee, it sure seemed like you were mocking the idea of a wall at all. She's completely, totally disingenuous. She's a complete and total liar, and she's not even good at it. Here's a little bit more.
What weaknesses do you bring to the table, and how do you plan to overcome them while you're in office?
Now, if anybody has ever been to any job application where you actually have to do an interview to get the job, you're ready for this question. This is like boilerplate. This is why there's a hilarious classic meme from The Office when Michael Scott was asked this question, and she's about to give you the Michael Scott answer. My biggest weakness is that I have too many strengths. By the way, any of you, I bet you all can answer this question a lot better. Put it in your comments. What do you think Kamala Harris's weaknesses are?
That's a great question, Joe. Well, I am certainly not perfect. So let's start there. And I think that perhaps a weakness, some would say, but I actually think it's a strength, is I really do value having a team of very smart people around me who bring to my decision-making process different perspectives.
Did you hear what she just said? Some people would say this is a weakness. I personally think it's a strength. Some people would say this is a weakness. That I bring many different smart people to the table to bring different ideas to me to make a decision. Who in the hell would call that a weakness? Who on the planet Earth would describe that as a weakness? She is so in over her head. She is so out of her depth. This is worse than Michael Scott at a job interview. It truly is worse than a parody.
My team will tell you, I am constantly saying, let's kick the tire on that. Let's kick the tires.
Okay. So two things to take away from that. First of all, she's an absolute liar by suggesting that this is a weakness. And some people say that it's a weakness to have very smart people on your team to bring different perspectives to a decision. But also, secondly, if you read between the lines there, I'd love to know who that team is. There seems to be a handful of people who are delivering ideas to her rather than her own ideas. And I think that sort of plays into what we all assume is going on here, which is she's not the one calling the shots. In the same way we know Joe Biden is not the one who's been calling the shots. I think it's fair for us all to know who this team is that's giving her all these really smart suggestions about, what to do as president of the United States. Anderson Cooper, though, sort of follows up on this.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes. And they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too.
Real fast, and I don't mean to be mean-spirited. I really don't. And I feel terrible about raising this, but since she brought it up, what child did she parent? I know she's a stepmother, and stepmothers are very important, and stepmothers and stepfathers often are very involved in parenting children when the birth parent is not always in the house. But again, not trying to be mean, and I'm more than willing to be corrected on this. But my understanding of the multi-parent relationship in the Harris Emhoff household is that famously 15 years ago, when Doug Emhoff's children were little, Mr. Emhoff got the babysitter pregnant, thus destroying his marriage. He paid off the babysitter with a non-disclosure act. Some would call that hush money, to get out of the scene and to get rid of the baby. We still don't know what happened to the baby. Lord knows, I'm afraid to know. And then when that marriage was destroyed by Doug Emhoff's philandering with the babysitter in the house, Doug Emhoff moved out. They were split up and divorced. And after he married Kamala Harris, my understanding is that the vast majority of the physical custody of those children ended up with their birth mother. They were not raised by Kamala Harris. By the time Kamala Harris was in the picture, they were teenagers and for the most part being raised by their mother, right? And again, please correct me. I don't want to be inappropriate here. But when asked about what mistakes have you learned from, the very first thing she goes to is, well, if you've ever parented a child, am I right? And my response is, yeah, you have not parented a child, ma'am.
In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
Did you catch that? She pivoted from learning from mistakes when you're parenting a child to, as vice president, I've made sure that I'm always well read on issues because it's a mistake not to be. So what's the mistake that she made? And by the way, the idea that Kamala Harris is, as vice president, well read on issues is beyond a joke. If there's one thing that anyone has been saying about Kamala Harris in Washington, D.C. over the last 3.5 years, it's that she famously does not read her briefing papers. She famously does not read up on the issues that she's supposed to be briefed on and well versed on. And she doubled down on this notion last night. Watch.
So I may not be quick to have the answer as soon as you ask it about a specific policy issue sometimes, because I'm going to want to research it. I'm going to want to study it. I'm kind of a nerd sometimes, I confess.
Oh, I love that laugh. It's so infectious and so intoxicating. Love that laugh. I'm somewhat of a nerd sometimes because instead of giving you an answer right away, I'm going to want to read up on it. I'm telling you, and again, if you don't want to believe me, go ahead and use whatever favorite search engine you want. Go ahead and check on the book on Kamala Harris about what people have been saying about her as a senator and as a vice president in terms of her briefings and ignoring her briefings and not reading her briefings. This is literally what people have been saying about her for the last several years in Washington. She is the opposite of that. That is it. And you know how I know she's lying? That's her giggle is her tell. The laugh is her tell. But she was asked, name the one thing, if you could prioritize one thing in terms of legislation, what would it be? And by the way, based on the look of the questioner right now, this is like, it's a softball being thrown over the plate. In fact, it's a T-ball that's being, this person asking this question, a political science professor at Swarthmore College with those glasses and that outfit and that hairstyle, she's asking, please say abortion, please say abortion, please, oh, please, oh, please. And she can't even get that right for her constituents.
If you could accomplish only one major policy goal that required congressional action, what would it be and why?
Well, there's not just one. I have to be honest with you, Carol. There's a lot of work that needs to happen, but I think that maybe part of this point that how I think about it is we've got to get past this era of politics and partisan politics.
All right. So where to begin? The question is, what's the one thing you would prioritize? Again, a softball across the plate and a great way to let the American voter know, the undecideds, right, who are in that room, about what her priority is. And her immediate response is, well, there's not just one, but I will say this. We got to get past all of the partisanships, all the rancor, all the ugliness, all the name calling. That's my priority. Okay, so it's Kamala Harris's priority. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Carol Swarthmore, Carol professor at Swarthmore with that fabulous look, who's obviously just there to make sure that more abortions occur. We'll get back to you in a minute, okay? We will, I promise. We've got more to say about her. But let's pick up where Kamala Harris is taking us. Kamala Harris just said that she doesn't have just one priority. But if she could really say anything, her main priority is to make sure we get past all the partisanship and all the divisiveness and all of the rancor in Washington, D.C. We got to get past it and we got to transcend it. I'm a unifier. I'm a healer. I'm a lover, not a fighter. That's what Kamala Harris just said in response to that question. Within the same show, this is also what Kamala Harris said.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So I could be wrong. And again, I guess I'm second guessing my own intelligence and my own political analysis here. But I think if a woman is really looking to do away with the partisanship and do away with the rancor and the ugliness in Washington, D.C., and be the unifier and turn the page on all that ugliness. And oh, by the way, at this moment, 12 days out from Election Day, try to reach out to undecided voters or maybe even convert some people who are leaning toward Trump. Maybe, just maybe, calling Donald Trump a fascist isn't going to get you there. Might not get you across the finish line. Hey, all you undecided voters and people who might be leaning for Trump, he's a fascist, you know. So come vote for me because I'm going to get us past partisanship. Again, thankfully on CNN, immediately following, they had the 1-2 punch of David Urban and Scott Jennings. And they absolutely nailed their response as always. Let's start with Jennings. She said something about, you know, the people want me to be flawless, and meanwhile Trump is lawless, or something stupid that was crafted and written for her by some 20-something speechwriter who's really spending too much time on TikTok. So Scott Jennings was asked about that. What did you think about that? That was a powerful moment, wasn't it, Scott?
Do you see something in that? I mean, is that profound because it rhymes? I mean, look, she doesn't have
Well,
to.
I do think it was very well said.
She doesn't have to be flawless, but she has to give you something. I mean, she's like a true double threat. You know, she's terrible on her feet when she gets unexpected questions, and simultaneously, she can't even answer the expected questions. It's nothing. You'd think she'd be prepared to do this by now. You know, what's a mistake you've made? Nothing. What's a weakness you have? Nothing. What's the first law you want to pass? Nothing. What's a policy difference between you and Joe Biden? Nothing. Over and over and over. Empty. If she were an animal, she'd be a duck-billed platitude.
But look,
It's a total word salad.
God, that's good. Even Axelrod laughed at that one. And David Urban followed up beautifully as well, speaking for all of us, I think, who don't want Kamala Harris to be president. Mr. Urban, take it away.
Republicans would take another hour of Kamala Harris. We'd just press play, let her keep going. We'd pay for another hour to let her keep not answering the questions. I think Anderson's asking her, well, why haven't you done it? You've been there for 4 years. Why have you done any of this? And the word salad answer she gave to that was just mind-boggling. I mean, it's blown up the internet, her answer to that question. I think the things that are troubling for people were her responses to, you know, Van said about what's she going to do to reduce costs when they asked her at the beginning. You know, we're hurting economically. She said, I'm going to prosecute corporations, right? That's not going to lower costs. How are you going to make things better for me? I'm going to prosecute people. Trump bad is not a message that's going to get her elected. Trump bad message. I disagree with Republicans.
Trump bad is not a message that's going to get you elected is a great line, as well as the very true reality that Republicans would take every single night. Kamala Harris, Republicans should pay for the time of 1 hour of her doing these town halls. But listen, that's Scott Jennings and that's David Urban. Their job is to be the conservatives on the panel, the one lone voice on the panel to actually be contrary to everything else you're hearing on CNN. But it was so bad last night, and it was so bad last night that even the professional liberal propagandists at CNN had to admit it, beginning with the chief among them, Jake Tapper.
Focused a lot more on Donald Trump, I think it's fair to say, than she did on many specifics in terms of what she would do.
If her goal was to close the deal, they're not sure she did that.
You think? And then there's David Axelrod. Now, David Axelrod is there to be a partisan, unlike Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, who are also there to be partisans. He actually admits it. He was, of course, Barack Obama's campaign manager. He's going to crawl over broken glass to get Kamala Harris elected. So let's see how he spun her performance.
When she doesn't want to answer a question, her habit is to kind of go to word salad city. And she did that on a couple of answers. One was on Israel. Anderson asked a direct question, would you be stronger on Israel than Trump? And there was a 7-minute answer, but none of it related to the question he was asking.
That's devastating. Honestly, I mean, I have nothing more to add. David Axelrod, you right-wing wacko, MAGA hat wearing Trump supporter, well said. 100%. One other aspect of this town hall, because CNN cannot escape some of our criticism tonight. It's not all about Kamala Harris, of course. The media is always part of the story. Well, right after the town hall ended, and again, I want to explain to you, this was billed as a town hall of undecided voters. Now listen to how Jake Tapper describes the new definition of undecided voter.
Anderson, thank you. You've been watching CNN's town hall with Vice President Kamala Harris and undecided voters less than 2 weeks from the election. A lot of tough questions for the vice president there. It seemed as though the voters were divided into three basic groups. Liberals who had not heard enough from her. Progressives worried that she was not progressive enough, and Republicans who are wary of Donald Trump and wanting to hear more from the vice president.
So these are the undecided voters. Liberals who haven't heard enough from her, progressives who don't think she's progressive enough, and never Trump Republicans. Now, they may claim to be undecided, but if the election were held today, who do you think those three people are going to be voting for? Republicans who were never Trumpers, progressives who don't think Kamala's progressive enough, and liberals who haven't heard enough from her. Those are your undecided voters, which brings us back to Carol. As Aidan McLaughlin from Mediaite points out, don't know how they pulled it off, but for the Harris Town Hall, CNN managed to find a woman, registered Democrat, political science professor at Swarthmore, who is also an undecided voter. That's right. That woman right there. Remember the one who asked if you had one legislative priority, what would it be? And I'm just thinking, I could be wrong, but I'm just reading the room here. And I think what she was hoping that she would say was an abortion law. I'm going to legalize abortion. That's what I'm going to do. I promise. Don't worry. Don't worry. Look at her. Look at her. Carol Nackenoff, political science professor at Swarthmore. She's undecided. Wow, CNN. That, well done. I'm impressed. I mean, you know what? It takes effort. It takes very real effort to go out of your way and fill that room with undecided voters like that. That doesn't happen by accident. No, not in any way whatsoever. There's a lot at stake in this upcoming election, but regardless of who's sitting in the White House, the fuse on the economy has already been lit. It's like Mission Impossible. Dun, 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 dun. 4 years of a conservative presidency is not going to be enough to turn the tide on our $35 trillion national debt. And if the left wins, it's like throwing gas on a dumpster fire. No, you don't have a whole lot of control over the election's outcome. All you can do is vote and, well, bring 10 friends with you. But what you can control is your own savings. You can diversify your savings right now by investing in gold from Birch Gold. You know, gold. For millennia, gold has stood firm in the face of greedy governments, economic upheavals, and global strife, and it can help protect you right now. Birch Gold will help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. And it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. That's right. These are existing IRAs and 401ks, money you're already sitting on that you can convert into physical gold. And in the past 4 years, the buying power of the US dollar has declined, but the price of gold has increased by about 40%. That's not a coincidence. Get more information about this right now. Text my name, Larry, Larry, to 989898. Get your free info kit on gold and trust Birch Gold, as I do, to protect your savings. Text Larry to 989898. Do it today.